words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be ever acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. As some of you know, I worked in the IT business world for 43 years before I finally retired for the last time, quote unquote, in 2015. And looking back over all those years and jobs, I cannot think of a single place that I ever worked where I didn't encounter at least one person who just plain didn't like me, who worked to undermine everything I tried to do, who tried to poke holes in every suggestion that I made. Now, this was far more than friendly competition. In some cases, we worked for different managers in different departments, so we weren't candidates for the same job or promotion. As I look back now on those 40-plus years, it is clear to me that there are just some people who define themselves by what they are against, and they devote a great deal of their energy to oppose whoever or whatever that is. They sow seeds of discord, distrust, and disapproval, and they make it their goal to undo the good works of others. Perhaps you might have met someone like that once or twice in your life. Please, no names, please. And of course, there are only two possible responses. Try to ignore them or fight back. However, it's often not clear which of the two is the better response in a given situation. Today's gospel talked about weeds, but I think we all remember the words in the King James Bible. What were those things called? Tares, right? The wheat and the tares. Tares are a species of ryegrass that grows in the Middle East, and its grains contain an oil that, if consumed, will make you unconscious. So it was considered poisonous in those days. Now, these plants look exactly like leaves or stalks of wheat until the grains form on the top. And then, and only then, can you see that it's a dangerous plant, not the good one. I think that's a pretty good analogy for the people I've been talking about. Well, that's the real world. Now let's diverge for a moment into the world of fiction. I am willing to bet that there is not one person in this room who has not heard of Harry Potter and the amazing success of the books and films about him and his friends, and about his enemies and opponents. Did you know that the first book came out 20 years ago this month? This is their 20th anniversary, and there are 2 new books set to come out in October. And over its history, the books and movies have made more than $6 billion. And that's hard to believe. Somebody must be reading and watching. So what is it that makes these stories so interesting and attractive? Well, first, they're about young people who are just finding themselves, who are suddenly thrust into a battle for control of the world. These adolescents are brave, a bit naive, and subject to all the ordinary challenges of growing up, but they have no choice except to enter into the age-old battle with evil. In a sense, every teenager goes through exactly the same thing. With growing freedom and the power to make their own decisions, teens face temptation and evil all the time. To put it in terms of today's gospel lesson, they find themselves growing up among the tares, which is an Old English word for weeds. They're struggling to grow and to blossom against the forces that would choke the goodness out of them. Another attraction of the story is that its plot is compelling, the characters are easy to identify, and the entire idea of magic and supernatural powers is fascinating. Finally, the story of Harry, Ron, and Hermione grips us because it addresses a fundamental question. Why is there evil in the world, and what can we do about it? Why is there evil, and what can we do? Well, how do we answer these questions? I think first we have to start with the knowledge that there is, in fact, a supernatural power. The word supernatural means above or beyond nature. A supernatural power is one that exists outside the confines of our physical world, one that can intervene in the laws of nature. And we call that supernatural power God. The God who created the universe and set it to working according to natural laws. Do you get up every morning and thank God for gravity, which keeps us on this planet and probably keeps the whole planet working the way it's supposed to? I didn't see anybody floating around to the ceiling, so gravity must be pretty dependable. God was, in fact, very pleased with creation. At the end of every day of Genesis, we read, "And God saw that it was good." This tells us that a loving God prepared a wonderful home for us, a home where we could depend on natural forces to work in such a way that we are able to eat and drink, to live long lives, to fill this planet with God's children. This is a good place, or at least it started out that way. As we say to God in Eucharistic Prayer C, "You made us the rulers of creation, but we turned against you and betrayed your trust, and we turned against one another." So why do terrible things happen in a world that God created as good? The answer is because of the evil things that human beings have done and continue to do. And how can we escape the inevitable consequences of the evil that we have brought into the world? Only by turning to God, the true and only source of supernatural power, who, as we pray, knows what we need before we even ask for it. And we call upon our loving Father to mercifully give us those things which for our unworthiness we dare not, and for our blindness we cannot ask. Now, it's fine to escape into the world of fantasy once in a while and to enjoy the exciting adventures and terrifying struggles of imaginary characters. But we know to whom we can turn when we need help, when we encounter people that would do us harm, the tares in our world today, and when we confront our own vulnerability and frailty. We turn then to the only supernatural power that really exists, our loving Creator, merciful Redeemer, and sustaining Spirit. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.